right, welcome back with your host, Emily, Carrie.
Hi, Lauren.
Today we're going to talk about twin flames and that new documentary, Twinflame Universe. And then it's also Twinflame Universe
Yeah, the
Leaving
Amazon one. Yeah. Oh, Escaping Twin Flames.
Escaping Twinflame Universe.
Yeah, yeah.
A hot topic today.
Yep. So should we start it off with I pulled up the definition by therapists of a twin flame, and I think that's a good place to start because obviously people have different definitions, but I found this one to be a good place to start. So they have a true twin flame feels like a mirror of yourself. They reflect your qualities and traits, both good and bad, says this Sherilyn Ruan, PhD, Los Angeles, blah, 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 blah. However, this doesn't mean that you and your twin flame will be exactly the same, nor should either person's identity depend fully on the other or the relationship, says Dr. Ruan. And I think that is where people like all the people that were on the documentary started with Googling after they had this like intense reaction to like meeting someone. And then, but once they started going into the specific coupled of it, I think is where it went wrong. And I think that is how people like Jeff and Shalia, was that her name? I keep calling her the wrong name. How they kind of target people because they have great marketing. Their SEO is like on it for picking up these people and getting their search up there. But twin flame doesn't have to mean a romantic partner.
No.
And I think that's where people get lost. Like the same thing with like soulmates don't have to be like you can have kind of soulmates.
Three of us are soulmates. Yeah.
Right. The people that you have these connections with, and like my cat, my soulmate, my dogs, my best friend.
Absolutely.
And I think
I don't know when or where or how or why twin flames became such a trend, because that's what it is. It's a trend. You know, I don't listen, like for me, I don't like to say yes or no to anything. Like, I don't know if I really believe in twin flames, but I don't know everything and I'll never know everything. So I'm not going to like say that it's not real. I'm not going to say that because I don't know and I'll probably never know. But what I do know is that if there's ever a situation or a group of people or whatever the case promoting something extremely toxic, and that's where the twin flame trend has gone into, its toxicity. Oh, this be like shit. We have had a very horrific relationship and it's been breaking up, back together, breaking up, back together. They must be my twin flame. And then you feel like, well, I have to make it work because this is another part of me. This is half of my soul. And it's like, that shit is not okay.
No.
Like, that is not okay.
No.
And I could go on for days about this documentary. I don't even know where to start. It's so overwhelming. Honestly to God, it's so overwhelming. But like just getting to like the root of twin flames, I'm not going to say that I believe it or not, because I really don't know. But what I do know is that if you're in a relationship that is abusive, mentally, emotionally, physically, whatever, that is not somebody that you need to be with, because some fuck online says that that's your twin flame.
Right.
That's ridiculous. And I'm telling you, like, I can speak for myself in the sense that I've been with my husband for 15 years. We've been married for 8 years, and it is not supposed to be hard.
No.
Every day is not supposed to be a fight. And I'm not saying that like we don't have our moments, because we're human. So of course, you know, sometimes things can get a little chaotic or conflicted, but it's easy. You know, we respect each other. There's a level of respect that we have for each other. We care about each other's emotions. We care about where we're at, you know, in our lives together and as individuals. And like, it's not perfect, but it's not this toxicity that I feel like is being totally marketed. Like, I just don't understand.
That's exactly it. It's marketing, and they do it with love bombing. And that goes for everybody. That's not just them in the documentary. Like there's just individuals who do that. There's cults that do it. And I think that is the scariest thing, because the people who end up right in it are the people who are lost and they've never known love, or they just have lost the feeling of the love they once had. I mean, there were people in there that like had loving families, and they were just going through a hard time, and they just prey on you and then tell you that no, everything you thought was wrong until this moment, and you should listen to me. And I feel bad. Like, I don't want to judge anybody who gets involved in those things. And
easier
it's
to
just,
get into a cult-like group than you would think.
oh, for sure. And I think because people want to believe in something, especially when you feel like you have nothing and you need something to believe in. That's exactly what they're selling. And the thing is, especially when you watch the Amazon one, you see that like it never starts out that way.
No.
The groups never start out in this like crazy place. It starts out and they're using real therapy practices
and terms, and yeah.
Mm-hmm. They really are starting and sharing these things that can work for people, and then they use it for their benefit.
Right.
And it can be really hard to see the difference.
Yeah.
I think that's where people get caught.
Yeah. And it's like sad, because even just like outside of the twin flame cult, I'm finding more and more that within the spiritual community, I feel like anytime there's a group that have similar beliefs, it doesn't matter what it is, if it's a specific religion or if it's just like a similar belief system, this shit is everywhere and you really can't escape it. And that's why it's like so important to understand that we are all human and we don't all know everything, and we're never gonna.
Yes. My friend, we watched it together, and he put it like, we were like, I don't know, 4 minutes in, when they were saying about like that they can promise love, fame, and whatever, and he paused it and he was like, my parents always said the second someone promises you, guarantees 100% of something, you're out. Can't be. It's not possible. You cannot guarantee these things for people. Like it's not possible.
Nope.
And I think it's got to be a gut thing. Like if it doesn't seem right, doesn't smell right, doesn't feel right, it's probably not. And then I
like for a long time that it probably did feel right. I doubt that they revealed their true colors immediately, because they want to rope you in, and they want you to buy. They want you to level up. They want you to buy the next tier package. So the crazy isn't going to be unleashed until you've already made that payment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and then they have you hook, line, and sinker, because you got like stake in this. You got money in the game. So it's too late.
When they did the GoFundMe, and at first I was like, that's crazy. But then when the girl later was saying how to leave, she'd let down everybody in there who funded their life, I was like, that was fucking brilliant. Oh my God. I do not condone it, but that was some next level genius fucking shit, to have all of them fund their life for that new level of guilt. I don't think I've ever heard that before.
Was that the Amazon one or the other one?
No, that was the other one with Keely and Colby. Yeah. It was crazy. They're practically like an MLM for love.
Yes.
And I think from the Amazon one, they pulled it. They got really lucky. They got really lucky that they had those two women who genuinely loved each other and could use them, and kind of they didn't have to mold them that much, because they already had this story. And then they can be like, pretend they did it, and then be like, look, everybody. And as long as they've got the couple, and I mean, and then they noticed it, because they're like, okay, well, these couples are the only ones that exist. We better fucking do something about it.
Yeah.
And they still exist out there.
Which blows my mind.
I know.
So the ending is that they, on I guess like a state level, nothing has happened. Like, it's been investigated. There's been no consequences, nothing. But on the federal level, the FBI is now investigating it.
They've got like all the paperwork and all the things going on. But I think like before we started this, I was telling Carrie and Emily about another documentary, Love Is One, and that's the same thing. When people are willingly in cults, you really can't do much, and it's really hard to prove that people are doing things for like free labor when they're like, no, I want to do this. How much farther can you you go.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And that's the complicated part of cults. And because people are so, I mean,
it's all mind.
I cannot wait for you guys to watch this other one because they also still exist. They are the key groups. They are still out there. They don't live together anymore. And this is crazy. They're doing their business through YouTube, TikTok, and
Wow.
it's you hear the conspiracy theory stuff on TikTok all the time, and that's the fine line, because there are parts that, watching both of these documentaries, there were things that they were talking about and they believe in that I too believe in. And then so that gets really scary when you're like, okay, well, I agree with that part, but then I don't agree with this. And I guess it's because that's where the catch happens. And
right.
Where when we think about it, we're like, okay, like, no, we're done here. But there's a lot of things in both of them that I was like, I mean, these aren't totally asinine things that they're talking about initially.
Well, you know what made me sad too is seeing all of their past friends and like Shalia's dad talking about how it seemed like they were never like this before.
I don't think that's true. I think Shalia and Jeff, I think they were always that person. I think that their family and friends don't want to believe that, because you never want to believe that someone you love was bad.
Easier for me to believe them in this than her being the villain.
Yeah. Right. Well, but even her dad said that she's not a victim here.
Nope.
And I thought that was really interesting. That he was like, this was not her being convinced by this person. And I think that also hurts. And that's why you want to be like, no, like, this wasn't who she was, but it was. Like, did you guys watch Dirty John?
Yes.
Mm-mm.
So Dirty John is a real life. It was a podcast about a real man who conned this woman and then tried to kill her daughter. And
a fake doctor, drug addict.
Yes, I did see.
It was also a show. Like, it was a podcast first and then a show. And and his sisters, in the end, his sister said, she was like, some people are just born bad, and that was him.
Yes.
And I believe that. I hate that, but like, I don't think that Jeffrey Dahmer woke up one morning and goes, you know what? I'm gonna be a horrible person now.
What's the one show on, I think it's on Netflix, is it Mine Hunters or
yes.
Yeah, where the whole show is basically with serial killers, like okay, are you really born evil, or is it circumstantial?
Yeah. And that also is based off of a true detective, and how he was the first person to really investigate serial killers and interview them for their mind. And it's interesting because I don't think any of them, or at least the majority of them, all said like, yeah, this is who I am. Like, sure, these are the instances that led me here, but I've wanted this. Like, I just wanted it. Just me.
Yeah, right. Scary.
It's scary because you never know.
And I want to, it can happen to anybody. Yeah. I mean, you want to know, I was almost in a cult. I'm serious. Like, I was in a cult. I believe that it was a cult. It was on a smaller scale, but the things that, let's just talk about it. Let's talk about it. When I first got on TikTok, and this was before I quit my job, this is when I was like really getting back into my spirituality. I had never had a reading before, never had a psychic reading. I've had mediumship readings, but never psychic reading. And this was before I really knew that I wanted to pursue this. This is before I started development. This was before all of that. I found a creator on TikTok who will remain anonymous. And I was really intrigued by this person and the way that this person carried themselves, the love bombing that would occur during the readings that I would have. I'll never forget my first reading, total love bombing, feeling like I was so special. I had all these gifts, the spiritual gifts. Oh my gosh, you're so gifted. And it was like, it's like any human. It's like, you want to hear that you're special. Oh, yeah. You want to hear that you have these abilities or whatever you want to call it. So I started following this person. I started getting very frequent readings. It became an obsession, really. Like, I idolized this person. And that is when you start idolizing another human being, that is when the red flags, like, why do I feel like this person's on a pedestal? Why do I feel like this person's better than me? And I didn't know any better. I was very naive. And I mean, I would get readings daily. I mean, I was spending so much money. It was ridiculous. And in the beginning, it was all the love bombing. Oh my gosh, you're going to do this. You're going to do that, blah, 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 blah. And it got to the point where another red flag was this person was not a mentor. This person did not advertise being a mentor. This person claims that they had mentored in the past and they had all this experience, but they never advertised mentoring, which is something I should have thought twice about. And it was actually me who suggested that they start mentoring. And I regret this to this day because shit got real bad after that. So we started doing workshops. There would be workshops. So I got pulled into a Facebook group chat because I was so special. And this person hand selected people that were so special to go into this Facebook chat. And of course, I felt like, oh my gosh, who am I to be selected? And I went into this Facebook chat and I got close to a lot of the people that were in there, all these other really special people. And I mentioned this person doing workshops. So the workshops begun and they started by doing shadow work workshops. And I knew pretty much immediately after the first couple workshops that this person never mentored a day in their fucking life. It was so obvious. Right. There was no outline. It was just open forum. Basically, this person scolding other people about how they need to be better, do better. And then we get into the shadow work. And then that's where I got it. I've got an issue with shadow work. And it's the same thing with the mirror exercise in regards to Twinflame Universe. Yeah. It can be very toxic if it's not done correctly, because it's not supposed to make you feel like fucking shit. Okay. Like, let's just make that very clear. It's supposed to bring light into the darkness, not to live there. And that's what was happening. So it was basically like anytime I would go into these workshops with these other people in this group, it was trauma bonding is what it was. It was everybody formed this trauma bond. And there was a drama that occurred shortly after all of that because I had decided to start a mentorship program with my mentor now, Carrie, who is absolutely the most incredible, wonderful, kind human being. I never felt with her that she was on this platform. She never made me feel that way. She never made Emily feel that way. It was always about just our development. It was always about us. It was always about our healing, holding space. She's just amazing. I could literally talk 5 episodes about how wonderful of a mentor she is and a wonderful human that she is. And I knew it, like I felt it. I felt this call when I found her that I needed to be mentored by her. It felt different than the experience that I was currently having. And when the other person found out that I was joining a mentorship program with somebody else, all hell broke loose. I was treated very poorly. There were very horrific things that were said to me. There was bullying, getting on phone call conversations that she would call a free reading. I'm going to give you a free private reading where I would just be scolded for an hour to 90 minutes. And all because, I wasn't loyal anymore. There you go. Yeah. When people start talking about loyalty, it ain't good, guys. And anyway, thank God, like I got out of there pretty quickly. I ended up like blocking, deleting, left all the groups, and I went on my merry way. But I found out from other people that were in that community how bad it got after I left, where they were doing like 3+ hours of shadow work, where you had more shadow work and more shadow work, and it was never enough, like forcing them to like kind of live in that darkness, charging hundreds and hundreds of dollars to have their house cleansed of evil, how Reiki is evil, and that because there were a few people in there that were pursuing different like energy modalities, how they had to be cleansed, hundreds and hundreds of dollars. There were people spending thousands of dollars. That is a cult. Yeah. Yes. And I very self-aware person, and even I fell into that trap. It can happen to anybody.
Yeah.
And I want to make that very clear. Like, it can happen to anyone. Now, thankfully, I was able to see the signs relatively quickly, and I got myself out of that situation before it got to that point. But there's a lot of people where they're not so lucky.
Yeah.
And they have invested a lot of money, and there were friendships that I lost. There were people that I became very close to, that I talked to every single day, that I don't speak to anymore. And it's like, and that was hard. It was really hard. It was a really hard realization for me, but it was an incredible lesson. And it was one that I needed to go through, especially now that I do this work full time as a psychic medium and as a Reiki practitioner, to where I needed to see that not everybody has your best interests.
Right.
Not everybody has intentions that I do, you know, to help people, to really, truly, authentically help people, where this person had a tremendous ego. And I needed to see how it shouldn't be done, so that I can pave my own way to avoid that. And then in comparison, see how it should be done, i.e. mentoring with Carrie. And so I will never judge any of these people that fell into these fucking traps, because it's very easy, because it's narcissism. It's charm. You're charmed. And yeah, I mean, it was a tough lesson, but it just goes to show, like, again, like, this was on a very small scale, but how far it can really go. Yeah. I mean, it can go really far. And that's scary.
And they really do pry on that cycle. They and like you said with shadow work, it's when you get in and all you're doing, everything's your fault. You're in the slums of it, and the only person who can get you out is now this person who's helping you to see this in the first place. And especially if you're suffering in any sort of way. And I think this is where people get caught, is they are already feeling like they've lost so much, and now they're getting something. And to leave means I lost money. I'm going to lose friends. And those lost friendships feels like a death, like that, like, how do you say her name? Shelia, like her dad said. I can't remember. I keep wanting to call her Sherry, whatever. Taylor.
Yeah, he warns her. He acts like she's dead.
Yes, and I think that's what you have to do. Like, if you're going to be at peace that they are in this and they're on, you have to treat it like a death, or you will never. I don't know. And it's really hard when you. Hello. Whoops. That's how you know it's a good conversation, when you don't realize when the Zoom runs out. Anyway, I think it's really hard. Knowing when to kind of give up is also really difficult. Like, I've been in situations where I've seen, like, people I love start talking about things that, like, don't sound very good. And it's like, when do you say something? And how do you say it, especially when someone's being loved bombed in such a way that, like,
Emily knew from the jump that this person was toxic, but I am really glad that she kind of held space for me through that, because it was definitely something that I needed to learn on my own. And I can't say that if she would have said something that I would have been receptive to it. Right. Truly.
Right. You never know.
I think I was in that space. I was so obsessed. And I don't think that I was, like, truly, like, full honesty. I mean, I don't think I would have been, not that I would have gotten mad at her or anything, but I would have been like, yeah, sure. Okay. And, like, continued.
But also I was gaslighting myself, thinking, okay, if my best soul sister friend thinks this woman's great, then perhaps I'm the one with the problem. Like, maybe, am I jealous that she likes this person? Am I just being overprotective because that's how I am? You know what I mean? So, like, even though I wasn't part of it, this person was still even causing outside forces of her victims to question themselves.
Yep. They call you the blockage, you the energy link.
I got her, and like Carrie, it was all love bombing. The last one I got from her was not, but like the first couple, love bombing. She even said I had all these special things, but there was a reason that I didn't get pulled into it. And I think it was because I was meant to hold space for Carrie and be there to validate her once she came around, because I knew I knew it was a matter of time.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really important conversation when you have someone you love who gets like involved in a small, large scale. You have to have grace for them when they see, like, because I think there's a lot of, I mean, like in high school, I fell into one of those MLM things. And I mean, I was a week in it and I still felt bad for just being in it for a week.
Right.
Like there's a shame that follows being like, how did I get here? But there's a reason that these people are really successful at it because they're really fucking good. And that's what makes me so mad. You could actually do some good things because you're actually really talented and like how you see things and can pitch things. You're a great salesperson, but you're doing it for an awful, evil reason.
Well, you know what else is crazy to me is the fact that, like, for example, Jeff and Shalia, they yield so much power that their victims felt like, even though it was all online, so at any moment you could delete, block, get out of it, they felt like they couldn't get out of it. That's when you know that people are evil and
they have a lot of power
and control that they're using to manipulate, when it's an online platform, an online forum, and the victims, and they are victims, that's what I want to call them, of this abuse, felt like they couldn't escape, when really all they needed to do was click off, delete, block. That is some crazy shit that they were that influential.
Yeah, well, and they market off of their influence, their narcissism, and then also this intense fear. And I think the biggest fear for them is what they would lose. These people now love me. And I watched when someone spoke up, they were blocked, blacklisted, they lost everything. And I will lose it all again.
Yeah, you got Jesus.
I can't wait for you guys to watch this other one. Oh my God, I can't. It's really sick. And it's
around every corner, guys. Everybody that's listening, it's around every corner. So for somebody that's been through, not on that scale, of course, but a situation that was pretty similar, you got to know what to look for. If somebody is lifting you up in a way that you've never experienced before, and you feel like you owe this person something because of the way that they make you feel, that is called conditional love. And that is when your red flags need to go up and you need to pay attention, and you need to pay very close attention. Because I still hold a lot of guilt for, I was the one that opened up Pandora's box to mentorship. And there are people that are still taking these workshops. There are still people that it never even would have been a fucking iota if I wouldn't have said something. And to hear like the unfolding of that after I left is heartbreaking. I mean, the trauma, it's trauma that was inflicted on these people that are now afraid to have to work in their spiritual practices because they're terrified of doing it wrong, or they're terrified of dark energies, or they're terrified of this. That is sad. This work is supposed to be liberating. It's supposed to feel good. It's not supposed to feel scary. It's not. And it's like, I still have to work through that, because there were a lot of lives, and even in, Twinflame or Waco, wherever. I mean, you know what I mean? These cults. Fear is the main force of control. Get the fuck out.
And I do hope like you didn't do, like, you don't have to hold that. And I see exactly where you're coming from, and I get it entirely. I think that you said something out of light and love, because you were like, what a nice opportunity for these people who want to do something for themselves and grow and make something. Like, you believed in it. It's not your fault that she totally was like, $sign.
Well, she also I feel like Carrie needed to suggest mentoring for Carrie to learn and see that this was not good. So it all happened for a reason, and there was learning and growth that came from it.
Anybody who gets involved in any situation, there's learning and growth that comes from it. And it's just keeping no matter how much someone says how much you said it perfectly when you were talking about owing someone. As soon as someone's like, you owe them this, it's like, well, what about you? What about me? You do have to take a step back and stop thinking about them for a second, to think about yourself, to be like,
there needs to be an even exchange.
Right. Oh, it was just, I could go on for days.
I'm going to get perfect perfect cards.
Yeah, I was not getting to do any. Now this person did, like, I would get discounted readings for doing certain things. I will say that. But what's funny is I was peeping the other day. It's like 3 a.m. and I was awake because everybody was fucking coughing in my house. And I was on I have a fake account, mostly so that I can see my fake accounts for my normal account, so I can report them. And I was just scrolling on it, and who pops up on my For You page? And I have not seen this person in almost a year. And I went in there, not one same person, which made me feel better. And it was just mind blowing to me, and just so unbelievable at the growth that I have worked through in the last 10 months, because there was nothing evidential. There was nothing psychic about any of the readings she was giving. There was nothing psychic about it. Do I believe that she's reading energy? Yeah, I do. But if you're going to claim to be psychic, you better have some evidence to back it up. And there was none. And it's like what I see now, it's just because I've been through a lot of development. Emily and I both have 10 months of hours and hundreds of hours of development. Yeah. I see things so differently now, and that is a blessing.
And just because someone's reading energy doesn't mean that it's not like bad. It is how they then turn it to be bad. They are using real energy for their benefit.
Manipulation at its finest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, manipulators are, and they don't even have to be doing it for money. I mean, everybody has manipulators in their life, and it's really hard to see it, because they use emotions and they use energy to mostly to deplete yours, so that they can get what they need and what they want. And recognizing it, especially when it's someone you love, it hurts.
Yep, it does. Definitely.
All right, Emily pulled out her cards, and she's gonna do our collective message today.
So today I'm using the, ironically enough, Twinflame Ascension deck. It's the Take Me Home Oracle deck by Dr. Harmony. And I actually pulled number 9, Harmonize, Let Your Light Shine.
Oh, that's pretty.
And it says, you are a radiant being. Your thoughts, feelings, and actions are coming into full bloom, and you are in alignment with your heart. Allow your magnetic presence to shine. Your inner light is attracting the right people, places, and things that will direct your path towards your higher purpose. Be mindful of staying open and not putting up shields to block your hidden potential. This card is reminding you to express yourself and speak your truth. This will lead you towards a life of ease and grace, a secret to discovering personal freedom. Finally, your ego has come into harmonic balance with your heart. You trust the process and no longer take on life by yourself. You may continue to experience contrast and duality. Staying in harmonic balance is crucial when experiencing highs and lows. Listen to surf the fine line between surrender and resistance. Don't be afraid to let your light shine. Keep showing up in areas that you feel guided toward. It will be within the space that you reap the rewards that reflect your greatest potential.
I mean, wow.
I mean, especially when it says your inner light is attracting the right people, places, and things. Come on.
Mm-hmm. And also, it's your light. You're not trapped in your darkness. Your light.
And notice how this is not about anyone else but you.
Right. Yes, like it's your relationship and how you feel in it, and the energy that you're not only giving but receiving. And if it's dark in any sort of way, or it makes you feel bad, it ain't it.
And it's also saying too, when you focus from within and you focus on aligning yourself and you focus on working on yourself, the right people will come to fruition. So instead of seeking things outside of yourself, the right partner, the right this, the right that, focus inward. And I need this probably more than anyone right now, but focusing inward will align you to that person or thing or whatever that you're looking for.
And you don't need to spend thousands to do it. You don't.
I mean, shit, this deck was maybe $20.
Yeah.
There you go. A message for $20, and you're listening to it for free.
Right. Exactly.
So be careful out there, folks. I think that's the message for today. Be careful. Trust your intuition above anything else. We are all gifted. I don't care what anybody tells you. Nobody is more special than somebody else. We are all human. We're all living the human experience. We all have abilities. We can all connect to the divine. We can all connect to our guides. Nobody does it better, has it better than anybody else.
Right.
Okay. And I think that's really important. Never idolize somebody over yourself, and trust your intuition, because if you're on this spiritual journey, you're going to meet a lot of people that have a lot of different opinions, and that's what they are. They're opinions, and opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one.
Yep.
So never forget and use your discernment and trust yourself, because I'm telling you, if you really lean into the energy, it'll never steer you wrong. Energy never lies. And if you're in a group of people or a situation that felt really good at first and the energy has shifted and you feel that, there's a reason for that. Run.
And anybody who is a positive to your life would never ever disrespect or challenge your boundaries. And anybody who is involved that you're afraid of losing, you won't lose those connections when you're meant to have them. You won't.
Right. Period.
Carrie drops her mic.
Yep.
Oh my God. Oh, okay. Well, there you have it, everybody. Thank you for listening. And please follow us on Instagram and TikTok. We're at Team Spirit Podcast. And Carrie and Emily are on TikTok Live and Instagram. You can find them at Carrie's at Clarity by Cam, CAM, and Emily is at Enchanted Mystic by MK. And we will see you next time. Don't get trapped. We love you guys.
Bye. Love ya.
I do this every time.